Grayson Perry is one of Britain's best-known artists. The Turner Prize winner creates work that often explores themes of gender, identity and social class through a clever, playful and politically engaged perspective on the world. This exhibition is the result of a national treasure hunt to reunite some of the early works that first made Perry's name. In 2018, the artist made a hugely successful appeal to the public to bring back together pieces he created between 1981 and 1994. Perry studied fine art, turning his focus to pottery in 1983. He experimented with angry post-punk imagery, combining sexual fantasy and gritty realism. Kinky Sex is Perry's first standalone piece in clay. We see the artist subverting the image of Christ's crucifixion by placing a coin over his genitals. When melted in the kiln, it has produced an abject form that covers the body. Perry's work has a complicated relationship with the ceramics of the past. His engagement with traditional forms, including Toby jugs and slipware, a decorating technique where pottery is coated in a semi-liquid clay or slip, is both reverential and ironically subversive in the way he introduces unexpected themes and images. In 1975, Perry read about April Ashley, who was the first person to undergo gender reassignment surgery in 1960, after living as a transvestite. This was his discovery of the phenomenon of transvestism, and was critical in realising his own identity. On the 5th of November 1975, he put on what he calls the full rig and stepped out of the front door in the persona now known as Claire. Cross-dressing has been part of Perry's life since his troubled childhood growing up in suburban Essex. His early works reflect a journey of discovery and the exploration of his transvestism. Often challenging and explicit, Perry said that seeing these works again was a reminder of his pre-therapy years. The world of Perry's youth, and particularly the locations of his childhood in Essex, are closely tied to his identity. It is perhaps with pride and irony that Perry offers Essex as a counter to the picturesque image of the English landscape. The plate, Map of Essex, is one of the first map pieces Perry made, a form that he has returned to frequently in his artistic career. As storytelling became a more prominent component of his oeuvre, Perry increasingly worked with plates and vases. They offered more scope as surfaces on which to convey a message. He often included text, mythology, pagan references, and sprig work, the attaching of decorative elements cast from moulds, which is one of the artist's favourite techniques. Perry's early work often includes references to mythology, paganism, and the occult. In Perry's hands, one is never certain whether these themes are celebrated or gently ridiculed for their archaic earnestness. While the majority of Perry's early ceramics are either plates or vases, he has also dealt with many other traditional forms, including his popular unglazed funereal urns, inspired by Wedgwood's matte jasperware. One urn memorialises the artist's own imagined death. This vessel has decorative moulds from Masonic regalia and inscriptions reading, "Here are the ashes of the artist Grayson Perry. He lived in obscurity and laughed himself to death, 1960 to 1987. Words are an essential component in Perry's work. As well as being the master of a pithy phrase, he also incorporates extended pieces of text into his ceramic creations. These form narratives which explore themes including class, identity, and belonging. Perry acknowledges Claire as a key component of his creative drive. He says that on this pot, Secret Woman from 1987, he was already starting to build up a narrative of her, a sort of internal iconography. He describes the image of the angel figure with an erection and Claire, wearing a dress and a halo patting the angel on the shoulder, as representative of the idea of the spirit of his own femininity descending to earth and blessing him with inspiration. Perry says that he moved away from making plates for a time, because they seemed too easy, like the ceramic equivalent to drawing. But as his work has become more elaborate, he finds that he can have an idea for a pot and spend months creating it. A plate takes a matter of hours, and he finds that the speedy ones work the best. Perry uses coils of clay to build up the forms of his vases, in defiance of the ceramic industry's preference for moulds and the artisanal potter's method of throwing. While Perry is a well-known fixture of the art scene, his relationship with it is equivocal. This vase takes a swipe at its trendiness whilst also capturing human experience. Angular women who don't appear to enjoy themselves, standing in a frieze-like row, awkwardly eating or listening. Perry's interest in the relationship between fashion and identity is reflected in the women's clothes. Around 1994, Perry moved to the Anthony Dauphin Gallery near Bond Street, the heart of London's mainstream commercial art world. His pots took on a new richness and glamour, not least through the use of gold lustre glazes that elevated the commonplace material of clay into the realm of luxury and display. Perry said of this work, "There is a tension in making a piece of contemporary ceramics in a medium that has such a strong history of decorativeness. Making decorative art is a noble and profound thing to do, but if you'd asked me about the term decorative when I made this pot, I would have found it a loaded word and seen it as derogatory. What I'm coming to realise as I age is that profundity comes about by letting go, by not worrying about being meaningful."